Tokenize, the YouTube channel that shows you the faces of blockchain-based real economy. Subscribe and find out how you can be a part of it.
Sure, my name's Jude Nelson. I am an engineering partner at Blockstack. I've been with Blockstack since May of 2015. And my job is to design and build and test the Stacks blockchain. I work mostly under the hood beneath the back-end RESTful APIs. I work on the consensus algorithm, I work on the naming system, the network, that sort of thing. So the way Blockstack advertises itself is it's the easiest way to start building decentralized apps where users own their own data and they own their identities and they're both sovereign from applications. This is a win for users because the design protects their digital rights online. You should own your Facebook data, you should own your Google Docs data, and you alone should control who gets to see it and where it gets hosted and whether or not it gets deleted. It's not right that companies mine this information for ads, and it's not right that they feed it to the surveillance state to do nefarious political things with it. At the same time, it's also great for developers because they no longer are liable for hosting passwords or sensitive data. They no longer have a giant target painted on their back. So we see it as a win-win. The system is designed to be relatively straightforward to start using if you're a JavaScript web front-end developer. From a standing start, if you complete our tutorials, it takes about an hour or so to get to the point where you can build real, non-trivial Blockstack apps that have like persistent state per user, where users can share their data with their friends, but not with a server per se. And as a developer, all you have to do is throw it onto your favorite hosting site and walk away. There's no more operational cost for you. Well, it's hard to know how to answer that because this isn't a financial platform right now. Excuse me. So we do have a token, but it's primarily used like an AWS credit. It's meant for registering usernames on the chain. It's meant for registering top-level domains, and soon it will be used for paying for smart contracts. But we don't really build that as like the key defining trait of the platform. So while I definitely don't like the fact that banks have a lot of power, more power than they deserve, it's not something they would probably pay attention to because we're not trying to be a financial system in the first place. If people should fear us, it should be the likes of Zuckerberg right here, because we're going to make his life really hard by making it so that people can have their data and not share it with ad platforms. So it's funny you say that because governments are actually helping us get here with the likes of GDPR and data privacy laws coming into being. Holding on to all that data is becoming a liability. Corporations like Facebook have a choice. They can either become compliant, yeah, like that's going to happen. I try not to laugh at that statement. Or they can give lip service to privacy and not do privacy and just see how long they can keep the gaslighting apology machine going. Or they can stop doing business, and that won't happen either. Or they can try to lobby governments of the world to not have privacy laws, and that's kind of where we are right now. Or, and this is where we see Blockstack apps starting to shine, they can just design the app from the get-go to not need ad revenue as their primary income stream, and in doing so realize applications where users' data is never seen by anyone but the users themselves. Sure, so our most popular app right now is a Google Docs replacement. So businesses and users of Google Docs today end up sharing all their data with Google. Google can read it. Google has even leaked it mistakenly in the past. Who knows the intent, the damage is done. In this world with Graphite Docs, the data is encrypted client-side, and it's encrypted only to the keys of the people who are allowed to see it. So it doesn't matter then like who on the network can see your ciphertext because it's just ciphertext at that point. Another really popular app we have is XOR Drive, which is a Google Drive replacement where you can store your files in effect securely and share them via the same interface and with the same performance characteristics. But again, you have that security promise that only the users and their friends can see it. We've also seen this apply to chat apps like Stealthy, which does end-to-end encrypted chat at scale as well. They've managed to set up a relay system where I send a message to hundreds of people and just that hundreds of people see it. Another app like Afari is trying to do this in the context of Twitter, but with closed communities where just the communities can see their chat history. I see this happening in social networks. Again, to laugh at Zuckerberg here, we have Debut, which is a social networking app built on Blockstack, where just you and your friends can see your likes and your comments and your photos. We have several Instagram apps, actually, like TravelStack and Recall Photos, where the photos are encrypted end-to-end. In some cases, just so you can see it, but in other cases, so only you and your friends can see it. Developers like this because they don't have to worry about hosting it themselves, and it's relatively straightforward to get off the ground. They don't have to pay for storage anymore, and the users like it because it looks and smells and behaves exactly the same as their current favorite web apps, except now they have the privacy part. So that's a good question. Right now, the money makers on Blockstack are enterprise SaaS apps. So I mentioned Graphite earlier. They have Graphite Pro, which is Graphite, but with extra features that you pay for. You still own the data, of course. You're just getting access to more code that they license to you. Most Blockstack apps are open source. Looking through the app mining program, which is our incentive program for developers to build on Blockstack, the majority of money ends up finding its way to open source developers as opposed to closed source developers, so there's definitely value being realized through the open source process. And personally, I'm a big advocate of open source and free software. Blockstack Core is GPL3 for a reason. We don't want it to be co-opted or white labeled or anything like that. Our libraries are more permissive just because we want the system to have as far of a reach as possible, but we always want the code to be auditable. We want your data to be traceable only to you and visible only to you. And even things and speaking in this vein of transparency, even our smart contract language is designed such that the source code of the smart contract will be published to the chain so that anyone who wants to store tokens that way or interact financially through our tokens will be able to see exactly what they're going to get out of it first. It's like the WYSIWYG smart contract language. So transparency is a huge value at Blockstack. So compared to last year, it's not a mosh pit this year, and I'm liking that just from base lizard brain, not liking crowded spaces perspective. But I also at a higher level like it because I find myself kind of cringing to say this, but it does feel more serious this year. But that's kind of a low bar to clear because last year it was like everyone and their dog had an ICO model, and everyone and their dog ended up losing all their money at the end of the year. So. Hopefully the space starts to mature more. This space is really enterprisey, if that makes sense. I don't see as many developers as I would like to see, but again, as a Blockstack developer, I'm biased towards first-time developers and people who build web apps. So I'm hoping that gets better next year.
Tokenize, the language of the new blockchain-based financial markets. Can you speak it? Subscribe to Tokenize and let's find out together.